Learn on the road with Mike and Jennifer.
Good evening, everyone. You're very welcome to the Learn on the Road podcast with Mike and Jennifer.
All right, let's dive into one of humanity's biggest mysteries. Reincarnation.
Big one.
But we're not talking about like the general concept.
Yeah.
We're getting specific. We're talking about
Okay.
cases of children who say they remember past lives.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah. So our main source is this book by German therapist Trutz Hardow called Children Who Have Lived Before Reincarnation Today.
Okay.
But we've also got a few other accounts we'll be looking at too.
Sounds good.
I gotta say, going into this, I'm a little skeptical.
I get it.
I mean, it's a lot to wrap your head around. But at the same time, who isn't fascinated by the idea of life after death?
Right. It's like a question every human culture has tried to answer in some way.
Exactly. Like, we all have this deep down need to believe that this isn't all there is.
I think so.
So let's start with a case that'll really make you think. This is about a young boy from the Golan Heights region in Syria. He had this birthmark, and it's tied to some pretty unsettling claims.
Oh, this is one of the most well-known cases for sure. Imagine a 3-year-old boy
Yeah.
with a birthmark right on his forehead,
Okay.
a long red birthmark, and he says he was murdered in a past life.
Oh, wow.
And not just murdered, but struck in the head with an axe.
Okay, that's already pretty intense for a 3-year-old to be saying, but did he just talk about it, or?
He actually led village elders to the exact spot
Wow.
where he said he was killed and buried.
No way.
And guess what?
What?
They found a skeleton there, and the skull
Yeah.
had a fracture that matched the boy's birthmark.
Oh, come on. That's too much of a coincidence. So was that all, or was there more to it?
There's more.
Oh, boy.
This boy, he then pointed out the
Oh,
man
gosh.
who he claimed was his killer in that past life.
And what happened? Did anyone believe him?
The man confessed
Oh, my gosh.
to the crime.
Wow. I mean, how do you even begin to explain that? Like, could a birthmark really be a physical sign of trauma from a past life?
It's one theory.
Or is it just a wild coincidence?
I mean, it makes you wonder about the connections between the physical and the metaphysical.
Totally. Okay, let's shift gears to a completely different kind of memory. We're going to Lebanon now. This is the story of Suzanne Ghanem, who started remembering details about a life as a woman named Sada Hatoum.
This one's interesting because it wasn't just vague feelings.
Yeah.
She had specifics.
Yeah.
Names of people Saada knew, the layout of her house, even a phone number.
A phone number. Really? Was it, like, accurate?
Almost one digit off.
Yeah.
But still.
That's too specific to be a coincidence, right? I mean, how do researchers handle a case like that? Do they just take the person's word for it?
Not at all. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a leading researcher in reincarnation, investigated this case, like many others.
Okay.
He spent decades documenting these kinds of stories, verifying all the details, really trying to rule out any kind of trickery.
So he wanted to be sure these weren't just made-up stories.
Exactly.
Right.
His team actually corroborated many of Suzanne's claims. They matched them to real events in Sada Hatoum's life.
So they're doing the work to separate genuine memories from, just someone's imagination.
They are.
Okay, let's move on to a case that really got to me. The story of James Leininger, who's sometimes called the soul survivor. His story is wrapped up in World War II, which adds a whole other layer of possible verification.
This one's really compelling. James was only 2 years old when it started, way too young to know anything about World War II.
So what happened? Did he just start talking about battles and stuff?
He had these vivid nightmares
Oh.
about a plane crash. He'd wake up screaming things like, "Airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out."
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
It is, especially for a toddler.
Yeah, for sure. And did it stop there? Or,
As he got older,
yeah,
he started using very specific terms,
what kind of term?
like Corsair, which is a type of plane, and he kept saying the name Natoma. His parents were worried, of course. They didn't know anything about World War II aviation.
I bet. So did they, start looking into it?
They did.
Okay.
They found out that the USS Natoma Bay was an aircraft carrier
Ah.
in the Pacific during World War II.
Okay.
And then they found records of a pilot named James M. Houston Jr.,
Okay.
who flew a Corsair and was killed in action near Iwo Jima.
Wow. Those names and details are lining up pretty closely.
And there's more.
Oh, wow.
James Leininger also remembered the name of another pilot, Jack Larson, who served with James Houston.
No way. And was that true too?
It was. All this was verified through historical records and interviews with surviving crew members from the Natoma Bay.
That's incredible. Makes you wonder if some part of James Houston's consciousness found its way into James Leininger.
It's a question researchers are still trying to understand. Yeah, it definitely raises more questions than it answers.
Totally. So we've got these cases where kids seem to be remembering super specific things from past lives. Is there any kind of pattern to what they remember? Like, are certain types of memories more common?
That's interesting. Sometimes it's like they've held on to certain knowledge or skills, like the case of Swarnlata Mishra from India. Not only did she remember details from a past life,
Right.
she also exhibited something called xenoglossy.
Xenoglossy. What's that?
It's the ability to speak or understand a language you've never learned.
Oh, wow.
Swarnlata claimed she could speak and sing in a language from her previous life.
So it's like the language was imprinted on her soul or something. That's wild. Are there other cases like that?
There are. Another example is the case of Rylan O'Banion from the USA. She claimed to have died when a plane crashed through her home.
Whoa, that's a very specific and dramatic memory.
It is. And what's even more remarkable is that her memories were later corroborated with a specific historical event.
Oh, wow.
A plane crash that killed a young girl named Jennifer Schultz.
So not just remembering like a name or a place, but a whole traumatic event. Are there cases where kids seem to recall like specific skills from past lives?
Yes. One such case is that of Shanti Devi, who was born in Delhi in the 1920s.
Wait, I think I've heard of her. Didn't she claim she like belonged in a different city?
Exactly. From a young age, she insisted her real home was in Mathura, over 100 miles away. She said she had lived there with her husband in a past life and even gave details about him.
What kind of details?
She talked about his name, Kedar Nath, his profession as a cloth merchant, and even mentioned a mole on his face. She also claimed to have died 10 days after giving birth to a son.
That's a lot of specific information. Did anyone actually investigate her claims?
Her case got so much attention that Mahatma Gandhi himself set up a commission to investigate.
Oh.
They went to Mathura and found a man named Kedar Nath who matched her description.
No way.
He even confirmed the details about his profession and the mole on his face.
Hold on. So they actually found the husband from her alleged past life, and he confirmed the details.
Yes. And when Shanti Devi met him, she was able to recognize him instantly, along with other members of his family.
Wow, that's pretty convincing. It's not just a vague feeling. It's like she had access to this other person's life.
That's what makes these cases so intriguing. They challenge us to think about memory and consciousness in new ways.
So if these memories are real, is there any way to access them intentionally? Like, can we unlock those past life memories within ourselves?
That's a question a lot of people have asked. And one technique that has been explored is hypnotic regression.
Oh, yeah, hypnotic regression. Is that like what you see in the movies where someone gets hypnotized and suddenly remembers they were Cleopatra in a past life?
Well, not usually that dramatic.
Okay.
But the idea is to use hypnosis to help people access buried memories in their subconscious.
So you're saying that under hypnosis, people can tap into those hidden memories, potentially even from past lives?
Some therapists believe so, but it's important to note that hypnotic regression is very controversial.
Why is that? Is it because people could just be making things up under hypnosis?
That's one concern. Under hypnosis, people can be more suggestible and might unconsciously create false memories based on their expectations or the hypnotist's guidance. There are also ethical concerns about manipulating someone's memories.
I see. So while it might be fascinating, it's not necessarily a foolproof method for proving reincarnation.
Exactly. There are too many variables. And that brings us to another avenue of exploration: neuroscience.
Okay, so how can science, which is all about the physical world, help us understand something as intangible as a past life memory?
Neuroscience is starting to offer some interesting insights into how the brain works, especially when it comes to consciousness and memory.
Right.
Researchers are studying areas like the hippocampus, which is really important for memory. There's even research on near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences, trying to understand how consciousness might function separate from the body.
So it's like science is trying to catch up with these ancient mysteries.
In a way, yes.
Ooh,
We're starting to develop the tools and the language to explore these things in a more scientific way.
That's exciting. It's like we're on the verge of a whole new understanding of what it means to be human.
Maybe. But it's important to acknowledge that there are still a lot of challenges and open questions about reincarnation.
So what are some of the challenges? Like, if these cases are so compelling, why isn't reincarnation more widely accepted, at least by scientists?
One of the biggest issues is that we don't have a scientific framework to explain reincarnation. We're basically dealing with something that goes beyond what we know about biology, physics, even psychology.
So it's not just about the stories, no matter how detailed they are. We need to find a way to fit it all into what we already know about science.
Exactly. How do you measure a soul? How do memories transfer from one life to the next? Science is just starting to explore these questions.
It's like we're trying to solve a puzzle, but the pieces are from two different puzzles.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Another challenge is, how do researchers know for sure that a child isn't just repeating something they heard or saw?
Right, like maybe they picked up some information somewhere and their imagination takes over.
It's possible. Even with all the investigating, there's always room for doubt. And then there's the question of why some people seem to remember past lives, but others don't. If reincarnation is a universal thing, shouldn't we all have these memories?
Yeah, that's a good point. Is it that some people are just more in tune with their past lives, or is there something else going on?
Those are questions researchers are looking into. There are theories about karma and how souls evolve. Maybe we only start remembering past lives after reaching a certain level of spiritual development. But those are just theories, not facts.
Sounds like there's still a lot we don't know about all of this.
Definitely. But even with all the challenges and unanswered questions, I think it's important to be open-minded. The evidence for reincarnation, while not definitive, is pretty fascinating. And even if just a small number of these cases are real, it changes how we think about life, death, and consciousness.
I agree. Makes you rethink everything. So, where do we go from here? What does the future hold for reincarnation research?
I think the key is to have people from different fields work together. We need neuroscientists, psychologists, historians, even physicists to come up with new ways to study these things.
Like, we need a whole new branch of science dedicated to figuring out consciousness.
Maybe we do. And I think as we keep pushing the boundaries of science, we might find that the answers to these ancient questions have been inside us all along.
That's a really intriguing thought to end on. I started this whole deep dive feeling pretty skeptical.
Yeah.
But after hearing all these cases and different points of view, I'm definitely more open to the idea that there might be more to our existence than we realize.
That's what's so great about exploring these topics, right? It challenges our assumptions and helps us see the world in new ways.
Totally. So, to everyone listening, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and stay open-minded. The mysteries of reincarnation might be deeper and more personal than we ever imagined. And who knows, maybe someday science will catch up with what our souls have known all along.